Hi, good morning. My name is Thomas from thomasyoungauthor.com, and yesterday I put up, a new video on my website where I'm sort of commenting or telling you a little story about, the kind of guys I was friends with when I was young, to tell you a bit about, how I view my homosexuality and how I view being gay and how I view, sort of how I see the gay identity. And since I got up this morning, I was constantly thinking about a series that has been sort of a hit show. It's called Heated Rivalry, and I actually watched that series because at first I didn't want to watch it because I was like, if everybody likes it and if it's hyped so much and people are so hysterical about it, it cannot be good. But sort of because I'm writing an entire collection of essays on the major subjects this show is addressing, I had to watch it. So I subscribed to HBO, and I started watching the show. And I have to say, I actually liked it, and it was a good show. The first thing I liked about it was that sort of you could tell that the producers did not have a lot of budget. So, but even though sort of they had little money, they were able to produce and produce a very good show. And I think that also brings me to one of the things I think the show is so popular, not even amongst gay people, but also amongst people at large, because the series that are being produced now are sort of a little shallow. They are not very good. I mean, when I came of age, when I was in my early 20s, I remember there being lots of great series. This was the time when the streaming services had to compete, and they had to come up with really good shows. So this is the time when they started producing shows like 6 Feet Under, The Wire, Sex and the City, all that stuff. So I was lucky to be on at that time, because now there is this sort of drought, and that I think in part explains why the series caught on so well. And I'm not going to talk about the series as such so much, but the way it is received. And you can already see a difference in the way it is received when you look at these sort of the mainstream press, like the New York Times, the LA Times or the New Yorker, so magazines like that, and how they received it. So when you read their reviews, you cannot call them even reviews, because you cannot even call them critiques, because they're not being critical of everything. Being critical does not mean you have to say it's bad, but or what is bad about it. But they're very careful in criticizing this show, and then I'm wondering, why is that? So you can sense that they're not enthusiastic about the show. It's not saying, wow, this is this has an amazing plot or amazing storyline. This is the characters are built so wonderful, and it's just very sophisticated, no, sort of this they are based on these sort of sort of romance and gay romance novels. So it's not really, you cannot say that this is sort of next level with sort of TV series or anything. No, but they also dare not criticize the thing, and what is most importantly, because if you write a critique about a show you don't think is so good, then you have to incorporate why it is so successful. And the mainstream magazines did not want to, newspapers did not want to go into that territory, and I wonder why that is. Is it because Why are they afraid? Is it because are they afraid of the charge of homophobia? What, I don't know. And then there's the reception of gay men. A lot of gay men, watch these series, amongst their friends because and that's what a lot of gay people do. What I did in the past, and they receive it. I mean, almost in this hysterical way. I mean, a lot of them have this, little game going on where they ask each other, "What are you? Are you?" The main characters are called Shane and Ilya, sort of this. And then they ask, "Well, are you a Shane or an Ilya?" And when I see a lot of these guys, I'm thinking, "Well, you are neither." But yet, they, they are hysterical about it because when you listen to them talk, I mean, they act as if, gay characters are new to television. Well, we never saw, sort of gay characters, at the center of a show, although we did. But, they act as if were something new and bizarre, which it isn't. I mean, the shows I mentioned before, those shows that were on the early 2000s, even like 6 Feet Under, The Wires, have had really well-developed characters, gay characters, very complicated gay characters, also, out of the ordinary gay characters, much more than in today's world. So if they make a big fuss about, oh, this is hockey sports, this is the last homophobic bastion. I mean, a series like The Wire was sort of in this, sort of was situated in sort of these very sort of poor, criminal areas of, was it Baltimore? And there was a gay character, a criminal even. So these things are not really new or, bizarre. And but I want to talk to you a little bit now about why this series is so popular. What are the ideas being pushed in this show, and why do these ideas catch on? But also I want to go into the question of and what is overlooked about the show. You see, one of the sort of major point I don't see in any of the reviews, not in the sort of the mainstream press or with all these gay guys who think they need to comment on this show, is that, you see, the show is called Heated Rivalry, and it's about two gay guys on competing hockey teams. They sort of have this they're sort of rivals, and then they end up feeling sexually attracted to each other, and they, for many years, I think about in the span of 10 years, they have this sort of on and off sexual relationships where they see themselves every once in a while, and then, I think after 10 years they start, sort of developing a relationship, which I find strange, because that is strange, because I think many gay people can recognize such people in their lives. People you sort of see every once in a while, you have sort of, sex with, and then they disappear again, and then they come back. But these sort of relationships never end in a real one. I think that it happens here is also sort of part of its success. But that is not really I want to talk about, because what is often overlooked is that many homosexual relationships between two homosexual men, sort of romantic relationships, also like these partnership arrangements, are often based on rivalry. Many couples, the ones I know, I mean, I had in my relationship with men that absolutely played, a vital role also in these relationships not being successful in the end, because we almost subconsciously saw each other as rivals, and that rivalry, sort of got sexualized, or had this very sort of sexualized component to it, and that characterizes a lot of, relationships between homosexual men. And that is not talked about at all, and I find that really strange, because the author of these novels must have had that in the back of her mind, I guess. So, and then there's another thing I want to point out, and that is, well, the thing about the show that stood out to me was not so much the main characters, but that character, I forgot his name, that is played by Francois Arnault, who's one of the producers of the show. And his character falls in love with this guy, who is a barista at a coffee shop. And, you know, he's really in love, and he wants to own that relationship. So at some point, he wants to make it known to the world, because, you know, this openly gay guy, this barista, that it would be, you know, the respectful thing to do. You know, he sees that you cannot expect such a person to, you know, play the game of, you know, hide and seek when it comes to that relationship. That is, you know, that is not very sort of respectful. So he decides to make it known to the world. And you think, oh, that's a wonderful thing to do, how nice of him. But the problem I have with that is they take it a step further. It is not so, okay, you know, he makes this big announcement on that video screen after the hockey match. But then you would say, okay, listen, people, this is my boyfriend now, you accept it, and that was it. We don't talk about it. Oh no. In today's culture, and in especially gays who want to, you know, sort of enter this sort of, see themselves as celebrities now, who entered celebrity culture, who think they now think that their success, their fame, is a service to other gay people. And that's also how this is presented in this show. You know, it's not only to say enough, okay, this is my boyfriend, and now we shut up about it. No. Because this will go on endlessly. It's not that they stop at this. And after that, they're gonna show you their lives. They're gonna show you, look, we can have, you know, a promiscuous sex life next to having 5 children. We can go to the gym half of the day, and that sort of, and this life then gets displayed now by these gay celebrities, because that's going on as we speak. It's people like, you know, Troye Sivan, and that what is it, that British swimmer guy, Tom, I forgot his last name. You know, they sort of, they see their fame, their self-advancement now as a service to other gay people. And that's what they're trying to sell you on, and that is also what the show Heated Rivalry is trying to sell you on. You know, and I find that, you know, I don't know, a little problematic. Because you see, one of the things I always liked about being gay, being homosexual, living that life, was about that my life was not represented in mainstream culture. So it made me feel like I was somehow living under the radar. And a lot of gay people liked it about that. But that is not today's culture anymore. You know, is to put that entire life out in the open. And when you achieve fame, money, or success, that is a service, you know, to other gay people. And that's what I really don't like about that show. Thank you. That was it.